So the main difference is we take a holistic approach to our practice. And what really that means is there's a number of things we can do financially, but we don't focus on one specific area or another. We don't push a particular product or service. We're really looking for what is the best solution for a particular client. One of the big things that we do, which most advisors don't, is tax work. So a lot of advisors either are scared of doing tax or their compliance department is scared of them doing tax, one or the other. I think we add a huge amount of value having an advisor doing tax returns, thinking about tax, melding it into everything else we're doing, like investments, like insurance, like wills and estates. So everything centers around tax, and it's still my favorite thing to do. So I think a lot of advisors are salespeople. They're selling a product, either it's insurance, it's investments of some sort, it's maybe a strategy they've developed. What CH does that's different is we take a scientific approach to financial management. Nothing that we put in front of a client is just a pitch or something that will just make us money. Everything we're doing is tested against real world results, not just back tested. We're looking at real portfolios, real situations. We spend a lot of time looking at risk versus return. And a lot of people focus on what's the alpha, what's the upside, and they don't spend enough time looking at what's the downside. Most of our clients over a 10-year period get about 90% of the upside of the market, 90 to 95%, with half the risk of the market. That's really the accomplishment here in terms of portfolio design, and it's a very scientific approach. We're fanatical about risk control and then protecting clients' capital. My biggest belief in managing a portfolio is that cash flow is your best defense against volatility. So if you have assets that are generating real cash flow all the time, you're a lot more insulated from the markets going up and down. So many portfolios get sunk by those side deals. And listen, I learned from a guy years ago who thought side deals were everything. That was where clients are going to be here because they want the deals. They want the excitement of owning a hotel, owning a nightclub. And I completely disagree with that. I think it distracts you from the portfolio. And if you're sitting in a meeting with a client talking about the hotel deal that you've structured, you're not talking about tax, you're not talking about financial planning, you're not really focusing on the client. You've become a deal promoter or a storyteller. And that's not the CH philosophy. What we've chosen to do is partner with a company called Fundex Investments. The benefit with Fundex is it started off as a smaller company. It was acquired by IA, Industrial Alliance, a few years ago, which is a big Quebec insurance company. Being owned by IA has been a great partnership because you have all the stability of a 130-year-old Quebec insurance company with more the forward thinking of a nimble, growing wealth advisory and financial advisory firm. So it gives us some scale in terms of risk and liability, but we can be independent within that framework. And as I've said to people many times, we're as independent as we can be without living in a cabin in the woods off of the electricity grid. Being independently licensed allows us a lot more freedom. Freedom to select the products that we think are appropriate for clients, freedom to do tax, freedom to have an estate planning and wills division in the office. It's, I think, what the banks are trying to get to. The difference, though, is that we have a senior person, a senior advisor, managing that relationship, not a junior person farming out work to these different silos. So the model looks very similar to any big bank's private client division, but in my opinion, we run it more intelligently and to the benefit of a client. We like to attract people who are, I would say, aspirational, meaning they're at a particular place in their life, but they aspire for something more than that. Whether that be you're a student or you're a young professional or you're sort of mid-career and you feel like you have to change things up a little bit in some way in your life. We really like those kind of aspirational clients, the ones who will say, I've done pretty well so far, but I feel like I need a little bit of a boost to get to that next level in my life. And I think that's what this firm is ideally suited for. Big focus at CH for us is what we call intergenerational planning. And what really that means is we want to deal with as many generations as a client is comfortable with. And the benefit to a client is that you then have a consistency of focus and philosophy right through your entire family. I would say 95% of the time, the next generation is very receptive to that. Because the next generation, let's say they had a $50,000 RSP. If they walked into a bank, they're going to be treated like one of the lowest clients out there. When they walk in here, we treat them exactly like we treat their parents, their grandparents. I think when someone is going through any kind of difficult life event, that's probably the time that we provide the most value. And it could be losing a job, getting divorced, having a death in the family, all sorts of things that can happen. And what I find in those periods of time is there's nowhere people can really go. There's not a psychologist or a doctor or another advisor. There's no one person they would go to say, please help me with this. And the way that this firm is designed, with a lot of professional services and with empathy, is that we really want clients to feel comfortable if there's a negative life event happening to come to us first. So a very common example is someone losing their job after being in the company 20 or 30 years. Very traumatic event. We've got a couple of great lawyers that we've partnered with to provide really good severance counseling. So the lawyer has the responsibility to do the best to get that person the best package possible. And it's our job to obviously invest that prudently, and also working with some of our other partners to maybe look at a change of career or a new company. A couple of great headhunters we know as well. So working with these trusted professionals, we move a client through an emotional event and get them on a more positive footing. My ambition is to make this the best financial advisory company in Canada. And if you want to do that, you've got to go way beyond what the average advisor is doing for a client. I have advisors tell me all the time, why are you doing tax? That's crazy. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of risk. Or why are you delving into things like charitable trusts? And quite frankly, this is the best for the client.